What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. Today I'm going to be getting more into the details of nutrition. Really just going to cover three specific terms that you should have an idea about if you want to be, changing the way that you're eating and supporting your training as well. So the reason I want to talk about nutrition is because although I've been talking a lot about training, I would say 80% of your results are going to be yielded from your nutrition and making sure that you are eating well enough and eating the specific amount that you should be in order to obtaining your goal. So in reality, what you eat is more important than how you train. If you combine the two of them, you're just making a much more likely chance of getting to your goal. So let's go over the three terms that I want to discuss today. The first one is caloric maintenance, second one is caloric deficit, and then third one is caloric surplus. So how this works is when we're talking about caloric maintenance, that is the amount of calories that you need to take in along with how much you exercise in a day in order to remain the same weight. So let's talk about, for instance, if I eat, say, 2,200 calories, and I exercise at a certain amount throughout my entire week, and I stay that same weight at the end of the week, that is my caloric maintenance of 2,200 calories. And now if I increase my how much I exercise, and I see that I'm losing weight at the end of that week, then that would mean that I'm in a caloric deficit. So it's really kind of a touch and go kind of thing when it comes to talking about how to find your caloric maintenance. The best way that I find that you can understand or see the range that you can be in is if you go 14 days of having a food diary and documenting the food that you intake. So if I go ahead, I weigh myself at the beginning of the week, and then I use my FitnessPal, or I use a food diary or some sort of thing, and I track how much food that I'm intaking per day. And I go my 7 days, I weigh myself again, and if I see I'm at the same weight, that's an idea as to where my caloric maintenance is. And then I go my second week, hopefully using the same kind of structure, and if I'm still at the same weight over the 2 weeks, I have found my caloric maintenance, and that is going to be the amount of calories that I'm going to have to intake in order to stay at the same weight. Now, caloric deficit would mean that, if I take 200 to, it ranges when you're talking about caloric deficit, because if you were to subtract 500 calories per day from your week, so 7 days, 3,500 calories, that's how many calories you need to burn in order to lose 1 pound of 1 pound of weight. So if you do that, if you subtract 500 from your caloric maintenance, and you should be losing about a pound in a week. I'm not the hugest or the biggest proponent of having to lose a single pound every week. If you're losing half a pound, that's amazing. You're losing a pound, that's awesome. It's just sometimes it's a little bit too extreme on some ends. So that's why I'm talking about the fact that it's a range, and you could be in a caloric deficit of 200 to 500 calories subtracted from your caloric maintenance. It's imperative to figure out what your caloric maintenance is first before you ever try to get on some sort of diet in any type of way. Know what you need to do to stay at the same weight, and then subtract from it if you're trying to lose weight. And that's really how it goes. So 200 to 500 calories subtracted from your caloric maintenance is going to be your caloric deficit. This is usually going to be used when you're trying to lose weight. Again, a lot of people will want to go straight into a caloric deficit when it comes to trying to lose weight, but I actually am a huge proponent of you staying at your caloric maintenance and just working out more strategically and more efficiently. Because if you start working out more efficiently and you end up burning more calories because you're doing things effectively and everything like that, you're going to probably put yourself in a better position to not only just losing fat, but also gaining muscle at the same time. It's called muscle recomposition or body recomposition. and it's something that's overlooked quite often in terms of training, because people want to see results really, really quickly and would rather go in a caloric deficit, which is, it works. But if you want to be in a caloric deficit, don't always just take calories away from yourself. I would say the best idea is to just work out a little bit more, exercise a little bit more. That is going to give you those 200 to 500 calories that you're going to want to be taking away from your caloric maintenance anyway. Versus if you just take 500 calories out of your diet, and then your workouts are not going to be as good because you're not having that efficiency. You're not having that fuel for your workouts. The last term that I wanted to talk about is caloric surplus. Caloric surplus is for those people who are struggling to put on weight. A lot of us even need to sometimes do this for ourselves, and because our body adapts to the amount of food that we are already intaking, and we need to be in a caloric surplus to kind of refeed ourselves. It really is beneficial to kind of have some times where you're going a little bit over your caloric maintenance, and sometimes going a little bit under your caloric maintenance before. So the surplus just means that it's an excess amount. It means that you're taking in more calories than you are burning. So that is usually going to occur for those people who want to gain weight, put on muscle. It really, again, like I would say, even for those people, if you're trying to put on muscle and everything like that, you could do that just the same at your caloric maintenance if you were working out more effectively. Making sure that your training is, adherent to your specific goal. If you're going there and you're not training to reach your certain goal, it's not going to happen. But a caloric surplus is the same thing as the opposite of the deficit. You could go 200 to 500 calories over your caloric maintenance, and you are going to be in a caloric surplus, and you are going to be putting on weight. So, man, like, altogether, these are important terms to understand, and really are going to help your programming of your nutrition, of your training. Like I said at the beginning, your training is important. It's about 20% of your overall result, but that 80% is really your diet, and how well, not only your diet, it's your stress management, your diet, how much you sleep. There are more components that go into your training, your overall fitness lifestyle, than just going to the gym. So it has to be a holistic approach that we're taking to our fitness lifestyles. So that's just a quick breakdown today of what caloric maintenance is, how we can figure it out, caloric deficit, and caloric surplus. I hope this was helpful. I want to be able to dive a little bit more into detail as to how to obtain certain goals for you all. But I really hope that you were able to gain something from this, and I hope everyone has a nice day. Take care.